What's up, everybody? It's Sunday, 3 o'clock in Central Time, and that means you're tuned into Cannabis Legalization News. My name is Tom. I am a cannabis lawyer you can find at CannabisIndustryLawyer.com. And on Cannabis Legalization News, we go over the news of the week in cannabis legalization and the industry so that you can help change them and witness what's going on. We have some big ones today. We're going to talk about what America wants when it comes to cannabis legalization. Let's get into it and bring on Miggy. What up, Miggy? How's things?
Cheers. Hey, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope that your team is winning the football game right now. And if you are the Eagles from Philadelphia, big thumbs up. And then also do not forget to subscribe to this. We go over the legalization news once a week, and then we do deep dives. We're going to be doing a deep dive on about Texas after this. So tune in next week because Texas is under an application window right now. But the big news story that we have is not actually the first news story that we had, but it was the one that I thought was the biggest, and that is what America wants when it comes to cannabis, and that is the marijuana moment story. I will just get this sucker queued up unless Miggy has it queued up.
No, I'll have the different ones about the non-association one. I didn't see that article though about the what America wants. I mean,
I used editorial authority to like kind of create that.
Yeah,
one of those deals where you look and you go like, hey, you should say this stuff better.
Oh, I see it. I got it right here.
And yeah, you got it ready to go because I have it right there. This is being reported out of the marijuana moment. Americans want marijuana less regulated. Well, but they want more regulations for Twitter, for Teslas, and for crypto. And so, like, if you think Teslas, crypto, and Twitter need more regulation than cannabis, you are in the majority of Americans, according to the marijuana moment. They published this out of January 27th.
It's an interesting take on what people want, though. You know, so
Americans want less cannabis regulation, but they want more crypto regulation. They probably got fleeced from crypto, and they want more Tesla regulation, and they also want more Twitter regulation. So I guess they need to regulate Elon Musk, not the plant. This is a Harvard CAPS Harris poll. They surveyed voters about a wide range of national issues, including where they stand on federal regulations for 8 consumer products, and if what they thought about how they should, judge them. Should they have more regulation, less regulation, or keep them the same? 45% of respondents said there should be fewer regulations for cannabis.
It's all about the rules. I mean, that's all this comes down to, right? Like, cannabis is obviously being regulated in just the weirdest way. Like here in Washington State, social equity, right? 10 years later, dude.
10 years later. Well, social equity as a word is only about 24 years old. It was the euphemism for affirmative action. So then after affirmative action, they said, well, we should call this social equity instead. And then just kind of like with recreational marijuana, its euphemism is adult use cannabis. So if you guys enjoy all that type of stuff, you guys should be tune in more often. And then the other thing is we got some graphs. Hey, who likes graphs? Here they are. This is what the rankings were for more regulation in blue, because the Democrats are blue and they like the regulation. Same, which is a gray neutral color. And then to the far right, which would be red and Republican, less regulation. When it comes to gas stoves, everybody wants less regulation. They don't think the gas stoves are really that bad. When it comes to marijuana, a little bit more regulation than gas stoves. So they want marijuana less regulated than coal, electric vehicles, nuclear energy, social media, consumer privacy and security on the internet, and cryptocurrency. That's where it ranks. Marijuana, slightly more regulation than gas stoves.
It's still kind of silly, though, isn't it, to compare like whether it be a Democrat or a Republican who wants whatever rules to be in place, because both sides want
scheme. They just wanted that color scheme, and so like on the left is the blues, in the middle is the grays, and on the right is the reds, and so they just kind of went with that color scheme.
Right, and then somebody's commenting about you Americans are so lucky, right? But it really depends on what state you are. This is
We're lucky, and if you guys are a member of the channel, or if you throw us a super chat, we'll get notice of that, and then we can also read your question, and we'll throw you a shirt because we still have shirts.
But I just think that to talk about regulation is to oversimplify the way the rules are being done here, right? Like, still in Washington State, 10 years later, I actually watched the social equity webinar, and it finally occurred to me that, how I was bitching about, like, I don't know which license available, whether it's going to be a store, because we are not vertical, we are horizontal, so you can only own a store or grow or a processing license to make concentrate. It also involves in a grow license, but either way, you can only be in one field of the cannabis
one
industry.
vertical. You can't be vertically integrated. You can be in this one or in that one. New York looks like it's also setting it up that way. New Jersey had some restrictions, but they expire over time. It really just depends on what state you're operating in.
Well, but the whole rule process too, like this play on words about social equity, we're trying to make it better, right? How I only qualify for 1 out of 3, but like, to me, it's very bothersome where I watched this thing and it finally occurred to me that, because they're talking about retail license, and I kind of think things, right? Because, like, you're not getting a grower's license. Apparently, the only licenses are going to be coming up available are 41 new stores. Like,
retail, yeah.
It still limits the playing field of the industry, right? The entry level. It's not social equity. Social equity would be like, hey, here's a fair chance to either be a grower or a business store, right? Now you're just saying you're going to be a store. It kind of really limits. It's almost like a what do you call it? Indentured servitude. We're going to give you the license for this business only, that you can only have only the store.
Yeah.
And now you are obligated. It just seems silly the way that this structure here has been working out. But it's been like this in every state, any legal recreational state.
It's silly. Well, Michigan and New Jersey have done a very good job. New Mexico's done a very good job. California may, but then like the local regulations and then the statewide regulations make it more difficult. And then not being able to be vertically integrated. And then like talk about Florida, this place is a nightmare. Yes. Hey, Florida's getting ready for an application season. You know what it entails? A $150,000 application fee.
Which is just insane. How many other industries have this like entry level barrier where you have to have, and like even here in Washington State, with just now that I realize that it's only limited to like a retail store type thing, right? If I were to come out with a plan to get involved in the industry, I still don't have deep pockets for like the rent that because you're gonna have to go red for at least a year or two before you can start pulling cash, which is,
well, of course, now like those would be that's capital investments, and that's also the difference between debt and or equity. We do all sorts of great things with financial models over at CannabisIndustryLawyer.com. Go ahead and head on over there if you're looking for how much is my cannabis company worth, why is it worth that valuation. We will do some math.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, and again, we talked about like owning a restaurant. Like, if you're gonna open a restaurant, you don't have a life no more. You are in the restaurant from the morning to closing, and then hours afterwards doing paperwork, ordering, whatever case is. Like, being an entrepreneur, is not as sexy as it really is. Or I know you're doing it. You're making something happen, but it's very time consuming. Right?
I hustled all weekend.
Yeah.
And so, that was some of the stuff that I did this past weekend. I'll share later. We have some cool sponsors that we'll be talking about, and then also some new offerings that I made, but I don't even have that up right now. Hey, let's go to the next story of the week. This one is a very satisfying story. This is one of the more satisfying aspects of cannabis legalization. And so let's go to that one. It has to do with the news, the studies. So let's talk about the studies, Miggy.
All right. Is this the neuroscience.com one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. We need a bumper?
Nope.
All right. So from neuroscience.com, whoops, get in there. Legalizing recreational cannabis does not increase substance use. Under no shit news.
Under no shit news. Under like, okay, that's the stuff. But then let's talk about it, because this is the studies that they wanted us to do. And so we're doing the studies, and we're coming up with great data. So the thumbs up, subscribe, share, comment. Let's go in what the data actually said on this, because this is a pretty interesting study, and it had to do with a study of more than 4,000 twins from Colorado and Minnesota found no link between cannabis legalization and increases in cognitive, psychological, social, relationships, or financial problems. Boom. we are fighting back against that stigma about how if you smoke, you're going to be lazy, you're going to be a loser, you're going to be crazy, you're going to have psychosis. Nuh-uh. Not according to the science.
Right. I just it's a silly argument, and the fear mongering. That's what all that part is, right? With the cannabis plant and the ignorance that is behind, like, you know, how long have you been like saying like the world's not going to end, the apocalypse is not going to end? How many bad employees do drug tests actually catch?
Right. And that's one of the things, you know, well, I'm not an employment lawyer. I do employment law because it's relevant in the stuff that I advise people on. But it's one of those deals with your drug-free school or your drugs-free workplace policy. Yeah. Okay, I want you to be ready to fire the best employee you have, because it has to be 100%. You can't have exceptions to it if it's drug-free. And if that employee comes back positive, you have to fire them. So that's one of the reasons why I think the West Coast really doesn't have a lot of those policies, or they accept cannabis or maybe psilocybin or alcohol, or alcohol's legal. It doesn't count, right?
Right. But I mean, it's still important. Like, if you're a small business owner, you can do what you want, right? You can like Shiba Hut, you know, they're a freaking Subway place based off of a cannabis theme. You know, the owner smokes, right? I mean, they're not like an advocate or nothing. I don't know the name of the person, but I know Shiba Hut exists, and I know they are proud about talking about like, come here and smoke out. But you know, it's about the people who are willing to take a chance. But when it comes to like a federal job, you know, or something that requires like a driver's license, right? We think, oh, we can't trust this guy, and they're going to be like, well, you don't want your pilot high. You know, well, no.
Nobody wants their pilot high. And nobody wants their pilot drunk also, by the way.
Exactly.
But yeah, Shiba Hut, toasted subs. Don't forget to eat toasted stubs from Shiba Hut. They're not paying us, but they have a pretty sweet website.
No, I think they're a brilliant brand. That's why I've known about them for years. And it's also someone willing to take a chance, right? Like, when being associated with cannabis, even 20 years ago, you know, you're just like a dumb, you know, the stereotype, you're not going to be successful. And really, it comes down to personal responsibility, all this shit, right? Own your own stuff. You know,
own your own stuff. Don't forget that. If you want to learn more about Shiba Hut and you're watching this on the TV and you have your phone out, where the heck is the QR code? I just saw it. Sons of bitches. Well, that's my only beef about Shiba Hut. They had a QR code. Now I can't find it.
Hey, there's another graph with this one too. Oh wait, never mind. That's a workout plan. That's an ad.
Oh yeah, that's what we need. We need more workout plans, because stoners are also not lazy. Okay, let's go on to the next story, which I think is also a story about studies. So we have more studies and more studies news, studies and studies. This one's out of Marijuana Moment. You got that one queued up?
I got it.
Do it.
Marijuana legalization not associated with increased rates of psychosis. American Medical Association study of 63 million people finds.
Wow. Okay, everybody, please make sure that your chin is not, you know, just dragging on the ground. And you've actually found out that 63 million Americans have been studied by who's this fly-by-night publication that you mentioned, the American Medical Association?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's some new group. I think they're conspiracy people. I don't, you know, this must have some sort of like woke agenda to be like
woke agenda. Yeah, the AMA with their woke agenda over here is saying that no increased rates of psychosis after studying 63 million people. So I really hope that means that nobody will ever say that marijuana makes you crazy.
Well,
I really hope that.
It's still going to be goddamn Fox News talking point, right? How many of those I don't even know their names no more. The only one I get mad, I Google them and look them up.
Laura Ingraham.
Yeah. The same chick that thinks that Sam should be white type stuff. Like, just the dumbest, ignorant talking points.
Hang on a second. Let's talk about what the actual data has. Now, we're talking about really safety schools. And I know that these were on my like alternate list when I was going to college. Stanford and the University of Pennsylvania. Whatever. And the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, they carried out an analysis of more than 63 million health insurance beneficiaries from 2003 until 2017 to address the idea that cannabis could be linked to higher rates of psychosis, which certain prohibitionists have cited to argue against legalization. Laura Ingraham. The study was published in, of course, the safety publication of the medical profession, the Journal of the American Medical Association, aka JAMA, their psychiatry version of it. They determined that compared with no legalization policy, states with legalization policy experience no statistical significant increase in rates of psychosis-related diagnosis. There it is. I mean, it's right there in the JAMA publication. They studied how many people? 63 million. And they found no risk of psychosis.
But what about the children, Tom? What about the children with this million-year-old plant?
That's the weird thing about these children. They can't be trusted with a million-year-old plant or rock music or dancing. We have to stop Footloose.
And again, it's that the prohibition thinking, and that's very American, very what do you call it? Like someone who's very religious, and they
it's all or nothing thinking. It's like it's light switch style of thinking. It's like we have to ban it all. We have to just get all of it gone. It's the only way to make sure that our policy fails.
If it makes you tingly inside, it can't be good. I mean, I don't know what the fear mongering is about. Like, you cannot be happy.
Good is not American.
I swear.
My puritanic ancestors did not get out. They did not leave that hedonistic cesspool of London, England, for the virgin plains of America to go to Jesus and think about how religion really is supposed to be without anybody saying that there's going to be sin.
I just, religion has been used though also to enforce slavery and whatnot, right? To create this paradigm of the betters and whatnot. So, and honestly, prohibition is part of that. It's been part of that separation. And my trip here to Mexico, it's weird to see that nothing has really changed in the 40 years since I was a kid who used to go to Tijuana with their grandparents because they're Mexican, fluent, and all this whatnot. And it's just weird to see, like, there's always got to be a winner and a loser, and it doesn't have to be that way.
There's the people getting kicked, and then there's the people doing the kicking.
Yeah. No, it's crazy shit. But we got good news out of Georgia too.
Do we have good news out of Georgia? And that's great, because we know that Americans want it less regulated. That's our big story for the day. And then we know that there's no study. All the studies say that there's no psychosis risk. That is also a huge big story for the day. And now what? Out of Georgia?
I got you. I got it. Georgia Commission passes rules to produce medical marijuana. So more to the south and more to the East Coast, man. It's good news for you guys.
Well, that's good. Georgia had an application window that closed over a year ago, and it was extended by lawsuits. Curaleaf won one of the few licenses. Georgia has a terrible medical cannabis program, almost as bad as Alabama's, and on par with Texas's. It's just garbage is what it is. And then they're vertically integrated, exceedingly expensive garbage. But Miggy and I will do a deep dive here on the Texas application and get that up on the channel next week. I'd still, if you got the coin, I'd roll the dice for it on Texas, maybe also in Florida. But like Florida coin,
well, if you got the coin,
tens of millions.
Yeah, but any of these states I would take adventure into if you have the coin, period. Like it's still a good time, and you got to prepare for the federal legalization too, right? Like, like we know, as you mentioned Curaleaf, I had to take a little laugh, right? Because I saw that they recently had to cut ties to some stores or some shit. Like they've been
Curaleaf has to pull out of any state that is not a limited market state because they can't compete. Yeah. Curaleaf is that bad. Curaleaf is Russian weed. It is Russian money weed. It is 20 past the hour. Let's not talk about that. Let's take a little break for a little 20 past the hour freedom. You know what that means? If you are in New York City or the Eastern time zone, it is 4:20.
If you're in Georgia,
right there. That's where it is. In Georgia, perhaps. Yep. And so I fixed up, so the thing we're moving like that mastermind that I had on over to the Sam cart thing. And nice. I got the branding essentials one done now. There's all sorts of informational products that I'm going to be moving over into this. and then feeding them into the people that fill out the form over at Cannabis Industry Lawyer. That form will really kind of like screen people for the entrepreneurs that want to get in the cannabis industry, to determine whether or not they have realistic expectations as they get in. The cannabis industry is ridiculous, I tell you what.
Oh God, yeah. Well, and again, you know, you've gone through a couple of rounds already. You know, we've been doing this pod for 3 years, and
four. Our
shit.
4th anniversary is coming up on the Super Bowl. And so Miggy and I started this podcast in 2019.
Damn, it's a pre-pandemic to post. I mean, it's been a good ride, but also,
oh, dude, a good ride. Like, your social equity in New Jersey. I'm going to see if we can get you in on a New Jersey license.
Oh yeah,
your
totally.
Social equity in Illinois. We get to have that application. Like, we'll do an application for Illinois in the next month. So tune into Cannabis Legalization News. Miggy and I are going to apply for a cannabis license.
No, I like
if you
to
want to, hit it up. You know, CannabisIndustryLawyer.com.
And definitely document is what I want to do, because I want to show that, you know, it is accessible to everybody. You know, no matter what your situation.
Well, you weren't. Yeah, that's the weird thing, is like, you weren't social equity in your own state, but you're social equity in Illinois, because but then the one in your state might get, there's a lawsuit protection that Illinois has done. So any state that has their social equity defined, and New York's one of the problems. That's one of the reasons why they've gotten that lawsuit thrown against them. It's a good lawsuit. It wins. And any state that tries to do that, where they self-deal all the licenses to the exclusion of out-of-state actors, violates the Dormant Commerce Clause. So, and that's strict scrutiny. They're going to get killed.
I just think the income barrier that they create for social equity and the jurisdiction bullshit is just bullshit, right? Like, the arrest should be the only thing that qualifies for social equity. Like, that's what the whole point of prohibition did. It was like ruin. You know, I told you, the getting caught while I was in between waiting for to go into service, I had a school taken away from me, and I lost a bonus. So I mean, it did change my life and affect very things that I've done. So I mean, things turn out all right for me. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah. And then the randomness about the residential requirement, like, you just put your name in there, and you've lived there for 5 years, right?
Oh yeah, almost 8 now. So
okay, but don't move, because we'll probably be able to, and they probably aren't going to change the definition, because now they've mooted that lawsuit. So that lawsuit can't get filed no more. In our state, in Illinois, they can get filed in Washington State, and get filed in New York, can't get filed in New Jersey. The way they did it, it moots the claim as well. Same with New Mexico, but they don't have, like, social equity goes to the front of the line in New Mexico.
I'm saying though, like, the fact that I don't qualify social equity here, when it's almost the same criteria when it comes to, like, location being in a low income area and your income period. And I'd make too much money here in Washington State, which is I'm not living large. You know, I feed people. That's it. You know, there's no, you know, I do get it the occasional trip, but I haven't done that never. So like, you know, I'm not like driving fast cars and whatnot. I'm just barely getting by out here. And the fact that I don't qualify, but yet in your state, where I make more money than probably more people, and then the area itself is like saturated here in Seattle compared to where you're at. Right. I don't know how the fuck I compare it. Like, how am I more poor out there?
Well, poverty has certain aspects of social equity in Illinois, but residential area, like the disproportionately impacted area where you live in Seattle, according to Illinois, counts.
I mean, like the whole city.
Yeah.
I mean,
we put your address into the map.
Yeah.
And it came up green for something. I can't remember. I think you were like in a food desert or something.
Okay. I mean, whatever the case is, I just think it's phenomenally blows my mind that, you know, Washington State itself to live in this area. It's almost like, I guess, Chicago is the best way to put it. You know, living in the city is expensive no matter what. So I just think it's crazy that I qualify over there versus over here.
Right.
But, you know, whatever.
Whatever, man. We got some stuff that we weren't expecting news. That's how I would classify the stuff that came out of Connecticut.
I don't know.
So Connecticut Republicans are proposing to ban cannabis sales and ban edible sales and tighten the cannabis regulations, mostly because they haven't read the studies that we were discussing earlier. You know, those studies from like JAMA that showed after studying 63 million people, it's not a risk.
Well,
there you go.
And look at the story. It says at press conference, Hartford Tuesday, Republican lawmakers expressed concerns over an anticipated increase in impaired driving fatalities, pediatric cannabis overdoses, and health risks after recreational. Like those three things right there. What? Like, first off, the impaired driving, it's already been proven. Again, another study that's been done. It says it's not really happening, right? The only thing that happens is just like after the passing of the gay marriage bill, you actually have more gay marriages. That's it.
You're gonna have more people. Figure. You mean because it's no longer illegal to do what they were, who they were.
Yeah.
There was more of them. I'm shocked.
But it's not like cause and effect, right? Just because I have cannabis in my system doesn't mean I'm going to go out there and crash a car. Doesn't mean I'm, there's no, it's not the thing. So like then the pediatric cannabis overdoses, I think we talked about that last week. Did anybody die? Has any of these kids?
And then that has to get back with like how hemp edibles are the bigger risk than regulated THC edibles that you buy at a dispensary in a state like Illinois or New Jersey or Michigan, because those hemp edibles are stronger. They rip off candy. They look like candy. They taste like candy, and they boast about how many milligrams they have. And derelict people probably leave them out for their children to get.
Well, and I'm curious on the third one about pediatric or not health risks. Like, what health risks are they anticipating? Like, in my state, who's been legal recreational for 10 years plus,
right?
And then medical for almost 20, 30. There hasn't been an increase of anything. Like, what health risk?
But like, should I bring a bill? I'd run for something and get myself elected, and then I would bring a bill that says, "Hey, we're going to ban meat." Because of the health risk and the pediatric risk. And we really don't want the top 3 forms of death in our country to be completely preventable. No, nobody cares because everybody loves meat. They just eat it,
I mean, are they going on alcohol? Are they going to try and ban alcohol sales, period?
Alcohol's not as bad for you as meat. Alcohol's, but then it screws your head up. That's the thing. Alcohol, I go, get you. I think it's neat that I could move my camera.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, there's actually people you can die from an alcohol overdose, right?
Yes.
You can't die.
Yes, you can. You can die of a diet of bacon cheeseburgers. It's called a heart attack.
Or
Chicago special.
Or high blood pressure, I guess.
Yep.
All right.
Oh yeah, but that's some shit right there. That's what I'd call that news story. That's some shit.
The bill also aims to officially end gas station, smoke shop, and convenience store sales of all THC variants by limiting the ambiguity in the public. So that's back to that Delta 8 stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, but that protects the industry. So like I could see like dispensary owners being like, yeah,
oh sure,
got to have that. I spent a lot of money to get this damn dispensary. I hate this guy over at the gas station selling legal hemp.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's always been part of the problems now, right? This Delta 8, Delta 9, which can be THC infused. Oh yeah, plastic hemp is.
Yeah, but he's wrong. That's not true.
He didn't make a hemp.
No. The leading cause of diabetes and heart disease are refined sugars. It's just not.
Oh no, I don't know what any of that shit is.
Yeah.
Well, we got FDA fucking news.
Oh, this is big. This one was trending so much so that I think that before we get to the FDA news, where are we on the name that strain, and then how many more stories do we got for the weekly news roundup?
Is it uploaded?
FDA, yeah, the name that strain's uploaded. San Diego, international news, name that strain. All right, let's we got like several of these. I'd say let's go to do the name that strain first. And then after that, we can go ahead and get to the other. We have about 3 more news stories.
Yeah.
And then it's been, well, let's double check and make sure. Oh, crap. It has not been, the overlay has not been uploaded, which is, I might even have to go to Canva. So why don't you go ahead and let's toss to the next, let's do the next story while I pull up the name that strain.
Want a little trending news?
Do some trending news.
All right. So the FDA announces it will not issue rules to allow CBD as dietary supplements or food items, punting to Congress for regulations. So what do you think is the importance of this statement by the FDA? Like, I mean, I know
the importance of the statement has to do with its ability to not be classified as an existing dietary ingredient. And so now it's going to be a new dietary ingredient, which has all the supplements that are out there. A lot of them like have this exception from this law from the mid 90s. I can't recall what it's actually called because I stay out of the CBD and therefore like the federal compliance aspect of the industry that's in hemp. But there's this federal regulation, which they still don't have for the CBD products, but they're effectively signaling that you can't just say that it would already existed before 1941.
Well, it's saying FDA isn't saying that CBD shouldn't be regulated. Rather, it said that certain safety concerns and data gaps make it an administrative impossibility under the current standards. So my question though, like the whole being labeled as a dietary supplement, what gives them an edge or what's the whole importance of that? Like why
it's not a drug. And so like drugs have to be FDA's like, scheduled and all that other stuff and regulated in that way. And so when it's an existing thing from before 1994, I believe, and it was in the diet of Americans before that, you can make a supplement for it. For example, like taurine or something like that. One of those things that's in your Red Bulls. And so those are not treated as pharmaceutical drugs and they're a little bit less regulated.
So is this rule really preventing it from being like, but I've already seen like CBD shit on shelves and like health side stores. So where is this preventing CBD being sold at? Like what would be the advantage to dietary supplement for a CBD brand? Because I'm already seeing it already in wellness areas.
Then it would give them cover. I mean, like there's just a lot of gray areas in the CBD edible or CBD supplement world. And this stuff from the FDA kind of says, well, we're going to get some regulations and things are going to change.
Yeah, but like
sometime
regulations are rules. So like what rules do you think is like should be considered like CBD potency, CBD derived from hemp versus cannabis? That it's all still
the news story said. I thought the news story just says we don't got them yet.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like they're not asking. Part of it to me is it doesn't seem like they're looking at it. A lot of the regulation that comes to the plant, they don't look at it as a plant. They don't look at it as something that could be beneficial. It hurts people's brain, I think, to think like, hey, this is a wellness plant, but it also could be used to make insulation, clothes, and petrol. It can be used to make plastics. There's chemical processes behind all that stuff, but for the most part, like hemp, you can grow a plant for the CBD predominant cannabinoid, but it's going to have other cannabinoids in it too.
For true. Yeah, that's right. That's what I would say on that one. But when they punted it back to Congress, it effectively means that all those products that are on the shelves, still on the shelves. I remember, lawyer out of L.A., Zuber or Lawler, Tom, I think it's Zuber. But anyway, he was like, oh, they're going to take all that stuff off the shelf in a year or two. It was 4 years ago that he said that. And then now the FDA goes, well, we're going to punt to Congress to create some rules. They should promulgate some law to tell us how to regulate this plant. Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, here in Washington, they created some weird ass rule for like non-infused drinks. And so some people, what they did is they worked around it where they give you a soda seltzer or whatever, and then a little thing next to it to add afterwards. But, that's just crazy. That I just think that we need federal guidance overall. Period.
We do.
Eventually. Yeah.
We do need some federal guidance overall. And I think that is a good time to break with that story. And I'm going to make sure that we get the next bumper queued up. We got the overlay ready to go. Let's talk about why we're here. There it is. Whoa. That is the strain of the day. That's right. We're looking this up. So this one's kind of fresh. It's not. It looks like it's about to be harvested, and it looks like it's in late flower, very, very close to be approaching ripe.
And it needs to be trimmed. Look how fluffy green those are.
Oh, I don't think that this thing's been picked yet.
I see.
I don't think it's been picked. It will eventually get trimmed up, but those sugar leaves that are there are still on it. We're zoomed in on the bud, so we don't really see any of the fan leaves from zooming out on it. It's a dense one. It's a dense one right there.
Yeah.
And it's like a long cylindrical bud. We have some Afghani genetics in the tent right now, and it kind of looks like that. This one is got parents of White Widow and Haze. Those are its parents. That's the hint for the week.
Fluorescent, beautiful greens and
no purples. No purples in this one. Yeah. White Widow and Haze plant, mostly sativa, cross.
My name is Ishmael.
My name is Ishmael, another big yielder. Big yielder this one. Hence the name.
Is it really? Is that what that is?
That's one of that, and then the size of the colas, I believe, has to do it. One of those.
Love it.
You've seen some of those Moby something or other, right? It's Moby something or other. I'm pretty sure, Moby something or other is got only one real ending, so we'll go. That's it, Moby Dick, and so that's the Moby Dick.
I'm questioning how you did in school, but you're like, fuck it. I know what it's talking about, but I just can't.
And you guys can find a deal on those over at Homegrown Cannabis Seed Co. Shout out to them. They gave me like an affiliate program and did a nice little thing on me. So we are helping them sell some hemp seeds. That's right. We did a couple of videos about seeds previously. And in the interim, we haven't done one about it since, but the FDA has admitted that hemp seeds or cannabis seeds are hemp.
Yeah, that's it.
And that has allowed for genetics to really flourish in the United States, which we're all very thankful for.
Oh, yeah. Well, until you get recreational legalization and seed to sell, and then everybody's just fucking...
Well, the seeds would still be hemp. The clones are still hemp. And then the THCA balls that are out there. Those THCA balls, I tell you.
Well, I don't know if it's changed here in Washington, but one of my other gripes was when seed to sale started, you got to magically get these seeds out of nowhere. And then they're like, okay, that's what you start with. Was it limited genetics? I don't know if you're allowed to introduce new ones and say, I magically acquired new seeds. Plants don't grow and things happen. If
you have the license and it's hemp. See, it's hemp that you're buying. You're allowed to do interstate hemp commerce. That's the law.
Interesting. I imagine it'd be cool to see, say, Burner, create that.
Cookies has a store.
Do they online? You can order seeds from them?
You can go buy Cookies Genetics right now online, but it's like 3 beans for $100.
Yeah. Well, no, beans aren't cheap.
It's huge juiced. It's not the ones that we have over at Homegrown Cannabis Co. That's a reasonable price for some beans. And it's Kyle Cushman. They just signed up Ed Rosenthal. So Ed's going to have some of his seeds on there. Kyle's got some of his seeds on there. Amazing. Good people. Decent genetics. We have some of their stuff running right now. It's fun.
Right on, dude. Jealous. Yeah. Longtime advocates.
Yes. Longtime advocates. So heading over to San Diego. We got a story out of San Diego.
It means whale dick.
It means a whale's vagina. Why don't you tell them about?
That's right.
Let me see if I can do this one and then remove me.
Hey, San Diego supervisors set lowest cannabis rates in the county. So let's get into it. Cannabis dispensaries in San Diego backcountry will pay for some of the lowest taxes on such business in the county after the board of supervisors set tax rates they said would allow business to compete with those in the neighboring cities. So I was in California, and I just it's interesting. I didn't see as many dispensaries as I thought I would have when I was there last year. On Tuesday, Oh, yeah. So on Tuesday, the board voted 4-1 to authorize taxes on the 5 existing marijuana. See, 5 existing marijuana businesses in unincorporated parts of the county. That's 5 for a whole county. Growing up in California, I always thought when weed was finally legal, when I signed petitions for Prop 250 and got signatures, and I was like, well, when weed's legal, we're all going to be on the beach smoking weed and enjoying life. It didn't work that way. It's a very tight, still people in charge of the politics and everything out there to have that leeway. So much potential in California is so sad hey, man, at least they're trying to give, better advantage to their local growers. But
that California is one of the dual licensing states. Illinois just filed a bill to become a dual licensing state. And I'm like, yowza, you thought it was expensive to get in here now. Just wait. And that's so bad I turned into Chuck Schumer from New York. But, when you have the dual licensing, that municipal becomes really the gatekeeper, and it can inflate the cost of becoming operational because politics really becomes local then. The locality aspect of it is slightly different. It'd be one thing if the city, well, we'll see how the Dormant Commerce Clause plays out, but
all this entryway shit is a gateway anyways, right? It's the entry that is required to play this game that average Joes can't play unless you have access to $200 or even to $1 million. But in this article, the measure is a step on the board's plan to expand options for cannabis business for unincorporated. Say that 10 times. By permitting new legal marijuana operations, county officials hope to eradicate the black market and redress the social and economic effects on the path. So again, it's always about eradicating black market. None of this shit's about like really a fairness. I mean, to make it fair, just open the market.
They're trying to, and so like if they drop the taxes and the price, the illicit market ceases to be at a price point that's pretty much at a reasonable profit. And so if you give a reasonable profit to the growers, and then that's it, the illicit market usually drops out. But then the price comes down, like you're leaving the $25 to $30 an eighth, stuff like that.
Right. To me, just the whole social equity talk when it comes to regulation in this plant is just open licenses, right? Like fair capitalism is fair justice. It's equal. Like everybody has a chance. Like if you were to make it so, like, for one, let me pay $100 for a license, to grow. And then within that license, I give you a plan of where I'm growing it. Like if I grew 10 plants in my backyard, that's enough right there for me to like start financial success. But since I can't do that,
you got to get the regulation, or at least you have to regulate it like we regulate cottage industries. And so if that's going to be the lowest license level, and I love it because I love a micro license.
Right.
You should have somebody be able to get in. I like the micros because 250 plants or less licenses. Those are coming into Missouri. And somebody asked, has Name That Strain been played yet? Yes, it has. It was Moby Dick. That's right. The Led Zeppelin song, not the book. The Led Zeppelin song.
Is that what they said?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's my show. I can make up the rules.
There you go.
There's some shitty international news that we have to report. So let's get to shitty international. Wait, do you have the international one ready to go?
Yep, got it.
All right, to shitty international news we go.
Oh, China. Hong Kong to ban CBD, label it a dangerous drug.
Yeah, China is really off the mainland on this one. Hong Kong, unfortunately, was not the free bastion that it was back when Britain was running the show. Their stock market index is much more suspect than it was 10, 20 years ago. Anyway, they have now labeled CBD, that is the non-psychoactive form of cannabis that has been popularized by the hemp plant that can be very good for all sorts of maladies, as a dangerous drug. Damn. Which makes me go, okay, China, if that's such a dangerous drug, why are you making all the fentanyl and sending it over here?
Well, and also I'm questioning the reason why you're going to keep having this reoccurring large pandemic spreads, and we've kept it contained. Honestly,
they didn't want to use our shots. They don't need our science,
right? Mm-hmm. Sure. But it's also been proven that cannabis, helps your immune system and all the other parts of you because of your endocannabinoid system, right? There's layers to this whole story of what I tell you, cannabis helps you, but that definitely could be something if your average Joe doesn't have access to something.
Just be careful when you're traveling.
Yeah,
because it says starting February 1st, cannabidiol, aka CBD, will be regarded as a dangerous drug and will be supervised and managed by the Dangerous Drug Ordinance. Customs Intelligence Officer An Young Kin Lewin said at a news briefing.
Well, just what a waste of time. Just what a waste of time. And again, prohibition has not helped society; it's more hindered it. We're an adult.
CBD. I can't believe
specifically CBD
that you would ban Texas even allows CBD. If you want to get a dispensary license in Texas, you're allowed to grow up to 1% THC. which pretty much means you have free range over all the hemp genetics. You know, the CBD hemp genetics, the 20-to-1 ratio hemp genetics. You're not going to have to worry about the 0.3. So your stuff's not going to get hot. You're going to be able to grow really, really good stuff. And for the maladies that is on the Texas list, great. Now, the other nice aspect about Texas is that 1% by the dry weight basis, we can do some gummy bear math with the calculator. Can I share my calculator on screen?
Good.
I don't know. Let me first open the calculator. Do you have any more?
Well, meanwhile, Washington State, $50. I just got baller on a budget today.
Baller on a budget. What is the $50? Is that a OZ? Is that a half? An OZ for 50.
Yeah.
That ain't nothing. That's nothing. And so like when you're talking about, but then if you broke it up, if you buy an eighth, is it about 25? But then
if I were to buy this same quality, but I go in there, I went in today with a purpose because I have so much money that I was going to like, you know, it's like, give me your popcorn bud. It's like the ugly meat on an animal, right? Like all parts are edible, but people are whatever, like, ooh, but it's all good. It's all from the same plant. So this is all popcorn bud. And yeah, since I think of last. Nice. So we got your calculator.
I can share my
well, check that out.
Yeah, isn't that neat? No, the problem now is I have to find out where that is on my screen. Okay, great. And unfortunately, the cursor kind of moves. So wow. Clear. That was a $50 eighth?
Yeah.
Times 16. Let's go ahead. That is an $800 pound right there. I think, again, you said popcorn or...
See, it's like all small buds.
Yeah, small, maybe outdoor, maybe a greenhouse. But they aren't allowed to be vertical in Washington State, which is crazy. So that means that the grower had to get his and the retailer had to get his.
Oh, yeah. That's the problem.
No recapture. You can't own your own retail locations.
But, you know, in the beginning, some of the people, what they did is they had like a family network. Like the husband would get the grow license, the wife would get the, you know, they worked around it. Some people, the successful people, were able to work around this bullshit like rule.
Hey, let's do some 5-gram gummy bear math before we wrap up the show. Hey, if you're enjoying this, don't forget to click them likes and hit subscribe. So if you have a 5-gram gummy bear, that means that it's actually 5,000 times 1,000 milligrams because it's 5 grams, right? And if you're at Texas, it's a 1% limit. But if you're not, you're just a regular hemp person, it's 0.3. So that times point, and then it'll be 0.3003. I think that's 99.7% not, right? That is 15 milligrams right there. And so that is how you can have a 5-gram gummy bear that qualifies as hemp because it only has 15 milligrams of THC in it.
Because, I mean, essentially...
More than just a hat rack.
But Texas medical program is essentially a hemp program, right? I mean...
yes. Now, we can multiply those numbers up to 1%, and you can see how edibles in Texas could be very medically active.
I wonder what it's going to take for them to change that, to increase that percentage. You know, I mean, will legalization happen first, or will? And I wonder with that legalization, would it be a shitty hemp legalization? Like, okay, we see the plant now, we just can't bust you for it right now.
Probably. Yeah. Hey, but let's wrap up. That was cannabis legalization news for the week. The next video that you see is going to be the shiznit. And don't forget to tune in next week as we will be having the little deep dive we're going to do right now about how to get an application, a dispensary license in Texas. It's not what you think.
And we're going to talk to Jorge.